Hello, this is OverlordBou, and we're back with another ship review, and today we'll be looking at the new Tier 10 German BB TechTree line replacement, the Preussen. Now, you'll be able to get this ship, you'll be able to grind for her starting in 11.1, and I would recommend the Preussen over the GK, and we'll be going over why in the video today. So the armor scheme is with the 16 armor bow right there, with a 32 right here. Little 120 mil right there, 3380 sides, 280. The aft is the same as the bow there, and the deck is 50 millimeters. It does have a turtle back just like the GK, so you can see the references there. And let's go over the build. So for the equipment's going to be main armaments, hydroacoustics, secondary battery modification, steering gears, concealment, and main battery modifications. Now, if you would like, you are able to build the ship for main battery if you any systems you would like. You don't need to go secondaries, but if you would like to, you can build into the main guns. You don't have to, but again, you can as well. You can do multiple builds on this ship. Now, for the captain, I'm going to be showing 3 different builds you can do, and I'll let you guys decide on which one you want to do. I do preventative maintenance, grease the gears, long the secondary build here, adrenaline rush, preventative maintenance, concealment, and main armament. But you can also build it like this, where you can do it with preventative maintenance, grease the gears, adrenaline rush, and instead of doing manual, you will build into close quarters combat, concealment, and fire prevention. With this particular build, you can get the main battery reload down to about 18 seconds with Adrenaline Rush if you do use this. So if you want to build in more of a, use focusing on main guns, you're able to do that as well. Or if you want to be more of a tanky build, you can just do this as well. Build more on the tanky. You can pretty much do a multiple builds, but those are just the 3 builds that I would personally recommend. Again, this is for more focused on the main battery here, because with this one right here, it gives you the 10% main battery reload when someone's within your secondary battery. So that would be 12 point. Now, since the main batteries would be 12 point, it'd be 12.5. So pretty much if you're within your secondary range, you get that extra buff. And this ship already has an incredible reload, which we'll be talking about later today. Alright, so with the main builds out of the way, we're going to go over the stats of the ship while you guys watch the replay, so you guys can enjoy that. Alright, so let's talk about the armor and survivability. So she has a 32mm upper bow and stern with a 70mm icebreaker bow or armored bow with a 50mm armored deck. The ship does have an HE pool of 105,800 HP with a torpedo protection of 25%. It's effectively the same armor scheme in hull dimensions as the Curve First, with minor differences in turret armor thickness. Like the Curve First, her thick deck and small bow section is mostly offset by her large superstructure. Many ships can also punch through her 50mm deck with HE, further reducing her survivability. Like her first, overall, her survivability is surprisingly average for a BB, though more forgiving for newer players who may not angle properly. Now let's talk about the main armament. And again, we did talk about as well that the Preussen does have a turtle back as well, which pretty much makes it where you're not going to get citadeled. But you still can in rare occasions, but the likelihood of you being citadeled is very rare. Let's talk about the main armament. There are 4 dual 457/52 guns with the ABXY layout. Now these guns have a 20.6 kilometer range with a 1.8 sigma. And these guns do have a 24 base reload with the 40-second 180 turret reverse. And these guns can fire 38 degrees off the bow and 30 degrees off the stern. And these guns have a 360... Yeah. Do they actually have a 360? No. No, there's no way. Yeah, no, they don't. No. That's crazy, dude. No, they do not. No. So anyway, Now, for the HE shells, they're 5450 HE shells with a 114 HE pen with a 9% fire chance. Now, the AP on this ship is 15,000 AP shell damage with 31 millimeter overmatch with a 45 to 60 degree ricochet. Now, the overmatches of the shell's 31 millimeters of armor, very good fire angles, fast firing, though inaccurate guns, and high AP penetration. Now, her guns are a notable improvement over Kerfer's 406/420 guns. They're vastly superior firing angles, allowing her to angle properly, effectively improving her survivability and ease of use when firing broadside. Her 457 gun performance are also overly superior, but not without most notable drawbacks. Their 31 millimeter overmatch is extremely handy with angled cruisers, while her extremely fast reload matches that of the Republic. Now, her guns fire so fast that she can fire a salvo at a bow in CA or BB and reload in time to catch their broadside during the turn out. Despite the higher caliber, Parisian's AP merely has average armor penetration compared to other tier 10 BBs, though it is better than Kerfer's AP guns. Overall, players will be happy with trading in their 406/420mm guns for Parisian's bigger and oddly faster firing guns. Now, for the secondary armaments, there are 4 twin 150mm guns with 7.5 second reload. HE damage is 1700 with a 38mm HE pen. Now, there are 6 twin 128mm guns with a 4-second reload and 1200 HE damage and 32mm HE pen for secondaries. Now, they do have a base range of 8.3 kilometers with a 12.5 max range. Now, they have the exact same layout and performance as Kerr-First. Like Kerr-First, Parisian secondaries are good for a GK. The secondaries are good for a BB, but require a lot of investment to make them effective. Even then, they are mostly for fighting other BBs. Most cruisers will kite outside of their range and are still very inaccurate against DDs. Now let's talk about the anti-air. For the anti-air, you have 6 flak puffs, 5 inner and 1 outer. The outer DPS for the anti-air is 140, mid is 329, and close is 245. Though an improvement on Kerr-First's anti-air, it's still insufficient to defend against CV strikes, because you do get 6 kilometer anti-air, which is quite nice. But again, as Parisian shares the same hull layout, she shares the same vulnerabilities like AP dive bombers, torpedo attacks, HE dive bombers like every other battleship. Avoid traveling solo if the CV is focusing on your flank. Well, let's talk about the maneuverability. The maneuverability is 30 knot max speed with a 1050mm turning radius with a 19.4 rudder shift. Now, it does have an above average top speed for tier 10 BBs. It also has a large turning radius and horrible rudder shift time. Overall, it is a very poor maneuverability to her very large turning radius and long rudder shift time. Her poor responsiveness will make it difficult to quickly adjust her angling in response to new threats. Now, her hydro does mitigate the threat of torps, but she still needs to be cautious when angling, as she cannot react quickly if players misjudge their angles. And let's talk about the concealment. So for the concealment, the surface detect on base is 17.6 and aerial is 14.9. And when you build into it, the best is 14.3 and the best is 12.1. And the Parisian is tied with her predecessor for the second worst concealment in the game, only beaten by the tier 6 Fuso, my most hated ship. With the best surface detection of 14.3, it is very difficult to close the range where Parisian was outperform other BBs. The player will have to make good use of island cover if they want to get close to her enemies without being kited to death. Now let's talk about consumables. Now, the Parisian does come with a standard BB damage control party with a 15-second immunity period, 80-second reload with a German BB Hydro. It does have 3 base charges, For the Hydro, the ship detection is 6 kilometers and the torpedo is 4 kilometers. Now it does also have an active time of 120 seconds for the sonar, and the reload is also 120 seconds. Now the standard BB repair party is 4 base, but with the emergency service expert, it goes to 5. And with this is a 14% HP base repaired per charge over 28 seconds. Now it is up to 16.8% over 31 seconds with the proper build. Now, these repair parties do have an 80-second reload time. So my overall impressions of the Parisian is the low floor, while also low to medium skill ceiling. The Parisian can be thought of as an up-gunned curve first, trading in her 406 to 420 milliliters for 4 more powerful 457 guns. Her playstyle remains the same as her sister ship, close range brawling other ships to death. Ideally, if you want to use islands to sneak up within your secondary battery range before opening up fire. Now the Hydra will help both you dodge torps and punish ships who sit in smoke while you rush them. A few ships can beat her at close range when played properly. While the guns provide a noticeable improvement, it doesn't hide the other weaknesses you inherited from the curve first. The sluggish handling, the large superstructure, the poor anti-air, and high surface detection all continue to hold the ship back. The long-range tier 10 meta is also hard on her. As mentioned, she can do fine in this role, but still be at a disadvantage compared to other BBs. Overall, while she is better than the curve first, Parisian is just average among BBs. The guns help her a lot, but she is still plagued by the same numerous problems the curve first suffers from. And even with the better guns, the poor accuracy with only 8 barrels can be a miserable experience. So let's talk about randoms, ranked, and clan battles, and King of the Seas as well, since that'll be coming up soon. So for randoms, I would say it's a slightly below average, better than curve first, but not by that much. For ranked, I would say it's about average. The 457 guns help versus cruisers, but still struggles with their inaccurate guns. For CBs, I would say unlikely, because it is still inferior to the Kremlin due to her inaccurate guns and notable weaker hull. The Hydro niche is not versatile enough to justify her over Kremlin on most maps, because, you know, Kremlin's literally a god at tanking. It's literally what it is a god. That is what it does. Now, for King of the Seas, as a possibly niche, it could see some use being pushed into a cap and using Hydro to zone out the enemy ships. For quick-firing 457 guns will pose a threat, and even if they're relatively inaccurate, the question is if there are any maps per niche can prove useful. Now, as this match is going to go on, I'll just try to talk about how I played the ship and how I felt to be different between this ship and the curve first. Whenever I was playing the curve first, it felt like it's a lot harder to do like the angling. It's a lot harder to angle with the guns, because you have to show a lot more broadside when you are playing the curve first. You have to show a lot more broadside to get all those guns off. While in the Parisian, you get better gun angles compared to the GK. Now, this makes it where when you're better angled, you're able to use your armor better. So during this match, I felt like I was able to do a lot. I could use more of my gun power while also being more gun angled. Compared to the GK, I would have to show more broadside, which means I'll be taking more pin damage. As so far in this match, you can already see I have 2.2 million potential damage, and I also still have over half of my health. Now, if this wasn't a GK, I don't know if I would be still as healthy as the GK, but like if this was the GK, I don't think that the GK would have lasted as long as this ship did, because this ship can do a lot more proper angling than the GK can. Sorry, it's like 5 in the morning when I'm recording this, so I apologize for that. But again, as a replacement for the GK, I do consider this ship a upgrade over the GK. I do consider it an upgrade over the GK. Like, I consider it like a little higher than the GK, but again, it does follow the rest of the line how looks go. If you go back to how the Bismarck looks and then how the FDG looks, and then you look how this ship looks, they all share that same similar 8-gun look. So this ship pretty much follows that same kind of look feel that those did. Because the GK is kind of the outlier, like with how many guns it has, it's like, it doesn't really fit the theme of what the original battleship line was, so I can kind of see why they wanted to replace it with this ship. Now, whenever you get this ship, and if you don't have the GK, again, the GK is going to be going for coal. Again, they haven't told us for how much, but I would say just get this ship instead of the GK. You don't have to waste your coal on it, because it's literally going to be you want the GK or you want this. And that's just how it's going to be. Like, do you want the GK or do you want this ship? And I say that it's just better to get this ship in the end. Again, the GK was my first tier 10. It was my first tier 10 in the game. And even though I do love playing the GK, I just feel like this is just a better version of the GK. If the GK had better gun angles, then I would say the GK is better. But this ship having the better gun angles makes it more superior because you're able to angle better, which makes you be able to survive longer. Because showing more broadside to try to get your shots off, you're just going to take way more pin damage. You're going to be showing... You're not going to get Citadel, but you're just going to take a lot more pin damage. They're going to be able to hit your superstructure easier. Overall, the more broadside you have to show, the more likely you're just going to lose more health over and over and over and over again. Now, so far, I'm at 2.4 million. The match is almost over. There's about 3 minutes left of the match. So yeah, still going, but it's almost done. So yeah, but yeah, again, there are 3 different builds for this ship. One where you can build it completely into the secondaries, one only partially and then the main guns, or you can go pure tank. There's a lot of different variety of builds, and it all depends upon your personal playstyle. Of course, I just wanted to show you guys the builds. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. You guys can build it however you like it. I was just showing you guys a variety of different builds, because again, it's up to you guys how you want to play it. But again, this is just my recommendation and opinions. You guys don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. Now we also know the Delny is also going to be coming out as well at the same time as pretty much as this ship. So I'll have a video out for that as well, so you guys can go watch that one as well. I wouldn't, for the Delny, I actually wouldn't recommend it, and whenever you go watch the video, you'll understand why. I do think the Kappa is better than the Delny, and you guys will see why whenever I explain in the video. And also, one thing that I did notice about this ship is that the secondaries on this ship just... Like, you know, like, if you're trying to go for, like, a secondary ship, like a really good secondary ship, you can pick this ship or a Schlieffen. Now, we all know that the Schlieffen is getting nerfed, but that nerf isn't going to be significant enough where the secondaries are going to be as good. This ship is just, it's going to be, it's a lot more tanky, and it's able just to W in. Like, it's like, you have a force in front of you, you can just push in and just tank it, while the Schlieffen would melt, because the Schlieffen isn't meant to tank. It's meant to kite. It's meant to do quick attacks and get out. It's not meant to be like a long-term engagement brawling like the GK or the Preussen is. So that's just how I see it. With like the secondaries, and you don't have to build IFHE into the ship either, since they do have a base of 32 millimeters. You don't have to build into the you don't have to build into the IFHE like you do in the Schlieffen as well. But in the end, I think the GK is just gonna become more of like a captain trainer in the end. a little bonus for credits as well, I believe. Yeah, since it's gonna be becoming a coal ship, it's gonna get a little extra of an income boost, but not by much.
Problem solved, sir.
But yep, that is going to be the replay for today for that. Now let's look at the final score. The final score is going to be 199,000 damage, almost 200,000 with 3 kills. And look how many secondary hits, only 96, but we did get 65 main gun hits. And let's look at the final score for the team. I was top of the team with 2,036 XP. Very nice indeed. But yep, again, I would recommend this ship over the GK. So if you're trying to get it before, if you're trying to... So I would definitely say just get this ship over the GK. Whenever, if you already have the GK, then that's okay. But I would definitely say it's worth the regrind the tier 9, regrind the 9 to 10 to get this ship for sure. But yep, if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But this is OverlordBou, and I'll talk to y'all later.